said, the way that the Lord tries to teach you.
In other words, if you all could imagine yourself as 36, started out to be a lot more, and we needed all the help we could get in getting this new age prepared to come in. In other words, the next time we never wait until the last minute to do something. They prepare the way for the new age. If you're all caught up in the last day, the new age is what you're bringing in. You're preparing the people to lift them up to a higher level, a higher rung on the ladder. Now, if we had all the individuals started out with putting their thoughts, we probably would have moved much more quickly, putting their thoughts into the head. They might have moved a little more. Don't know. We don't know. But if you can remember and keep in your mind always that every thought that you have goes into you. If you have a thought of sensuality, and if you do something about it, then that thought is going to be around.
In other words, if you give in to it,
Right? If you give into it,
then it's like depositing the thought of I can't lick it. And then you're feeding your roots.
if you give into that attitude with your classmates, if you respond badly to it, that is going to, you all cannot appreciate how important you are to yourself.
Even these negative thoughts that you still have, your responses, it's the reason we have this mantra for you. Because those thoughts are just, whether they come out your mouth or not, they're deposited. And you don't want to make that contribution to the atmosphere. You know,
You're trying to make things better, not add. If you're baking a cake, your thoughts are part of that cake. And only you know, your monitor knows, and only you know here what kind of ingredients you're going to have to put in. You understand? And you hope it's going to turn out to be a good cake. We don't. We can tell according to the vibrations what kind of things you're doing. As far as turning into it, that's the evil. However, you are monitoring. Remember, that's probably more so now than ever before. You can't hide from things. You can go into the bathroom and shut the door and do whatever you want to do. Don't make anyone know what you're going to do. Be very careful monitoring this time because, believe it or not, this substance that you think is going to keep you. But you don't put this out of what you are motivated. In other words, they have to take away some of the thoughts that are going to be more emphasized rather than it just takes them longer to get it all, whatever they need to begin a new age. Understand? They want it to be strong. A strong beginning, not a weak beginning.
no, it might be an argument that he was talking about your thoughts and what you deposit and what you leave in these records as having a big effect on the New Age. When Jesus was leaving, and he said that I go in order to prepare a place for you, so that where I am, there you may be also. Think of that in terms of not a place, but a place in development instead of a physical place. In other words, in order for him to leave, the New Age could start so that they could come to, in their stepwise motion, to where he was. Can you follow that? Can you see how that works? Because what you're trying to do is bring the people up. This is what we keep saying. Each time there is next level visits, then whatever their visit was, whatever kind it was, is carefully timed for the next level to be appropriate to fit that civilization that we're considering. Let's go on. See what kind of questions you have.
Most important thing to remember when answering this question, this applies to anything that's personal in regards to where you go and what you do. So you don't need to add that into it. You can add about overcoming these things and what you have had to do with the other things. But you certainly wouldn't get off on anything that personal as far as what you might say, well, every Friday we go to the grocery store for supplies. That's hard enough thing to start doing.
It doesn't mean that it would be wrong to say that approximately so once we drive around and get a meal. But it does mean that, because that would have an interest, more so than Friday was supply run day. Friday was supply run day is the kind of thing that can cause wrong information. Because that could, we could start making rituals of Friday supply run day. It's just like when you get to the part about meditation. If you said we were taught how to meditate and define meditation, in other words, we were taught how to relax our bodies, our brains, and how to control our thoughts, and how to heal our bodies through the power of breath. That would be the right kind of information. But if you gave them all the particulars about it, they would be mountains would be made of molehills. Do you agree with that? In other words, if you say in your book, you make sure the light did this and did all that, they would make it great to do. The light type of relaxing exercise is just a tool. If you could sit and consciously, totally relax your vehicle, tippy-toe to tippy-toe, we don't care. If you could actually do it, whether or not you were using the means we gave you to do it or not. I mean, it might be that you will have become so familiar with the means that we gave you that soon you can relax your vehicle from head to foot without going sewing the tail with that particular exercise. We wouldn't want you going to another exercise that we have not given you, but you might be able to sincerely shortcut the one we gave you. The point I'm making is, if you said in your book about how you were taught to relax your vehicle, and to relax your brain, to prepare and even to accept healing, and you even talk to yourself to get strong cells to overpower these sick ones, the ones that are destructive. That's general information that can be very helpful. Very helpful. To go into more particulars. In other words, get a keen feel of, is this that I'm putting in my book something that can be twisted? Is this something that can be seen out of shape? If it is, I'm being too specific about it. Or is something I shouldn't mention? That's what you want to have your reader to your head. Okay. Since Link says not to mention it, then I wouldn't mention it. She's going out on her own whim if she wants to talk about it or wants to force us to talk about it. And this is a good example of not sticking to what has been taught. Because if you're thinking of areas that we have not discussed, other than as it relates to what we actually taught you, to think of things that we have not taught you, and then bring questions like that.
Dr. Bill, what did you say about that?
She wants us to.
No, I mean, did you say God of Abraham?
No, she says the Islam religion worships. They say that their God is the same God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. So
That wasn't it is true. Baptist worship the same God of Abraham. We're talking about in the Old Testament.
but we're not talking about
But
that.
we didn't say that the Baptist is the Presbyterian Catholic. We can't cover all those. Besides, it isn't they're part of the movement.
Another point.
That's still off the track.
Another point is you have heard us. There may be some good things. We aren't going to talk about the Islam religion, right? Because we haven't talked about it. There may be some awfully good things about the Islam religion. There may be some things totally in opposition to the next level teachers. But the point is, it's like Paul. Paul taught a lot of very good things. It's like the lower forces had him mix in a lot of very good things in order to have you pay attention to the things that he said that were in opposition to information that was stronger that Jesus left with the sake of the gospel. In other words, you can find very good things like St. God's, and that in any religion, but that doesn't necessarily mean it. So let's stick to what we have given.
I don't know why we get stressed on the words. Some of the other questions that we received what do we want in the book? We don't know why each of you, not each of you, some of you choose to get off the track. In other words, we don't want to head it. We want you all to write your books according to what we have given you as instructions.
What you have learned about the ways of the next level.
In other words, we don't want you to quote anything from the Old Testament or the New Testament. We want you to talk about the ways of success. Either we thought you would probably love putting this down because you've never been able to talk to anybody about it. Now you have the opportunity to put it down on paper and to get it on the track. You can't stay on the track. Each time somebody comes up with something it isn't exactly right. And the deadline for writing is coming up. And goodness knows what else is being written that is so you don't have time to write all of this about the God of Abraham and all like that, whatever else that you all can come up with.
Other than what we did say, that the kingdom of heaven that we speak of is the same kingdom of heaven spoken of in the Old Testament.
But you don't have to quote all the religions. We don't even know if they look to the same. We know that they might call it that. But they certainly aren't. They're not acting as if it's the same God.
And don't forget the chief voter is the great deceiver, being starting things that would appear to be the kingdom of heaven, and in order to get something started, it ends up not being. So don't get into areas that you don't know enough about.
I said argument. It's more important to talk about the next level than everything.
And the practical, I see was going over the practical, little, even mundane things that you have learned about procedures and ways to the next level are extremely important. not talking about that. So should the image, that's, I don't know what you could say about it, because that was an interpretation we had in stepwise motion of understanding what your real position is, and that's obsolete with the understanding that you came to do this kind of task. And so we really have nothing to say with the accuracy at all in relationship to mind skills.
It's just like we don't mention mind stuff. We haven't talked about mind stuff in ages.
You didn't even know what we were talking about.
That's obsolete.
We did say that if we felt like you needed to explain that the mind is not the brain, the mind is the life force that's separate, that occupies the space of the vehicle, and that under normal circumstances goes from information to information through lessons. That's something that Breeden would cover the topic. And get into the philosophy of mind stuff is just okay.
Otherwise, I'll be questioning my belief subject we need to explain again so that it's a little less confusing. That is, if you can remember, if you can believe that you have a mind, and you have a habit, no, you have a booger, and you have a habit of believing, keep it going. Follow that? In other words, sometimes you may just respond in an adverse way or a negative way because of it, because of habit of doing it. I've said one individual who has trouble sleeping because there's so much noise going on. Is it the book or is it the habit of the vehicle that doesn't like to be disturbed when that individual is sleeping? I can't believe the book is there all the time. I think it's the habit. It's a normal response for that vehicle. Out of habit. And so what that individual has to do is change the response, not allow those habits of the vehicle to take over. Let's say that somebody is working.
Can I add just one thing to that? Now, if that experience with that habit causes that person to be enraged or to, because then the booger has stepped in, and just like the booger uses the weakness of habits to enter, anytime that adverse or hostile feeling comes in, then you've got company, but it was the habit that brought the company.
Let me give you another example. Let's say that somebody's working in the lab and they're not following the procedure correctly, and somebody draws it to their attention. Now, the habit of the vehicle may be to respond in a negative way. And then next thing they know, even though they don't say anything, but they feel it. Then if they go on another accident, they had really let the booger come in even though they didn't say anything or they didn't radiate anything. But they did try to fight off the habit of the vehicle by not responding or showing response, even though that doesn't have their attitude. Now, the first step in breaking the habit of the vehicle is to not respond, to not allow it to do so. I have a habit of this vehicle had a habit of every time I sat down or I sit down in the chair, or just about every time I sit down, I get something to either read, to study, or to write on, or something. My nose starts running. And I'll look for a Kleenex and I won't have one in my pocket. I won't have one by the bed or by the chair. So I'll have to put everything down and get up. And my first response is, why can't I plan on having Kleenex with me when I get up? But I don't respond. You see what I'm saying? I fight it off. Because the habit of the vehicle would be to get irritated with the fact that I was so dumb that I can't plan South Korea because I know the nose rest is left on there. But so what you want to do, it used to do it, doesn't it? In fact, I twist it around and make a game of it. And I laugh at myself. Well, still can't learn that all the time. And this is what you want to do. You want to take the negative and turn it around and make it a positive. And to laugh at yourself. Don't get all upset inside because you are putting all those thoughts in. And you're not learning what you need to learn. It's an example. Remember, that's the most important thing that you need to learn how to control the vehicle. But if you can understand, back where I started, you can understand that the booger isn't always there. Sometimes it's the vehicle out of habit responding to different circumstances. Once you recognize that and you get it under control, then you really made a move major step. Because out of habit, getting into the habit, you allow, like those men, you allow the booger to give in.
Don't forget, habit is synonymous with weakness. Weakness and fear. Those mean the same thing.
Physically and mentally.
Yes.
Mostly mentally.
And also, habits don't necessarily have to be, or weaknesses, don't necessarily have to be habits or weaknesses that you as an individual established. They can be habits that you inherited. They can even be time capsule type habits that will come in after the vehicle is X years of age. And they will frequently surprise you. You wonder where in the world does that kind of thing come from? And then you think, for heaven's sakes, long as my human dad or mother was in that age, they had that characteristic of being irritable or whatever it is that you may not have had previously. So habits or weaknesses are ones that you have established or that have been handed down to you and sometimes will blossom at times like a time capsule in your vehicle. But all of them are just tools. Self-control or opportunities. Self-control. We keep directing Mrs. Schroeder. He says, you did all of those. You wrote all those questions. And he's looking at them. Oh my goodness.
Regarding the update on discarnates or influences, as it would be more accurately called thought forms, it's necessary to differentiate between thought forms and discarnates.
Well, I don't know what you could say about discarnates other than your booger. There's nothing you can really say about discarnates other than your booger. You can talk about thought forms, but I wouldn't make them right have a book about it. But thought forms, it's true that thought forms are extremely important. That's what you're depositing. You've seen it work. Use it in an illustration. Now, if you go to the grocery store and you look at something, you pick it up, and your check partner follows right behind you. They get to that spot and they don't even know why. They pick it up and look at the same thing that you just looked at because you left that thought form deposited there. Those thoughts are not, usually are not, you are not aware that thought form has been deposited. You're not consciously aware, even though you do the thing that, or you examine, you have that same thought that was deposited. So thought forms are important, but as far as discarnates are concerned, you have nothing to say other than the condition of your book. You can travel astrally and out of a vehicle, which is for the time it is traveling, not incarnate. Can you understand that? But other influences, you talk about influences of aspects and influences of thought forms. But the only discarnates you can speak with first-hand information is your we don't feel that, we're not even sure that what we used to call discarnates were not just lower thought forms, and like the single individual who was assigned to give trouble. So to us, thought forms in your book pretty much covers what you have to deal with in the ego or in the brain.
That's about as far as you can go.
Yes.
There's a lot more to that.
That's it. There was
I wouldn't put it in your book. I wouldn't put it in your book.
I know I didn't.
No.
What would we do?
When you said you wouldn't want you said the next level doesn't just let any thought be deposited, and they might take some of your thoughts away. Now, this is not book material. No. After you have deposited, you don't want to dump out garbage with your thoughts. They might have to back them up.
There's one thing I want to talk about as far as the question.
That's still all true. Everything that you have to overcome to enter the kingdom of heaven is still true.
No, because that'll open the door. In other words, you can just say that you were going through this because you wanted to go and become a member of the kingdom of heaven. So, and because if you mention the final commandment, then and you don't explain it anyplace else, then like we've already answered your question in regards to that. And you're going to open doors for somebody, they're going to wonder, what does that mean?
Now let's do that again. In place of saying final example, what you could say was, our teachers were teaching us what would be required of individuals to enter the kingdom of heaven. And those requirements are still exactly the same. Even though later on you found out that you could come from the kingdom of heaven, but that doesn't change the requirements of the conduct necessary of the members.
And you give the reason why you were not told.
Can you understand that?
I think that's what it is.
No, because it's confusing and it isn't appropriate any longer. Anytime that we can leave out the terms that were given to us as intermediate steps that later turned out to just be steps, and therefore those particular terms became inaccurate. So why would we list those terms when there's no purpose in listing the terms that have become inaccurate? The steps were never inaccurate. The steps were always necessary. The reader wouldn't be able to comprehend like that. It's just like you can see the steps in the Bible that people went through, and they always got hung up on them, and they have translated them to be something else. Was it not an appropriate step for you, when a human, to be a good little family person and raise little offspring? And in any civilization, is that not an appropriate step for them? And yet, if you don't clarify that it's simply a step, then you have people still thinking that that's where I must always remain, is at such a level of still indulging in needing that level of partnership, that level of expression. You understand? Well, but no, it isn't wrong to. Yes, I think if you would go back and correct it, and you would talk about that it, even though thought forms we're talking about here is no different than this isn't the first time I've talked about depositing thoughts, and it's the same thing. So thought forms is just words talking about the deposit of thoughts because they stay there, and we've talked to you sometime about how your thoughts are picked up, and that's the same thing. So whether you're using thoughts or you're using the word thought forms, or as you said for a while we talked to them as influences, and the thoughts that had been deposited were influencing us. But you see, if you talk about influences, then you're going to have to describe what influences are, and that isn't appropriate. So the only way you could describe those influences and be accurate with what we're saying is to describe them as thoughts or as your booker. Can you see that?
It's true, you do take it in that way, but we have to look at the lingo we use.
Right. One other area of influences is aspects now. That is an accurate influence. Those aspects are still accurate, and you try not to respond to those aspects as they influence you, and you try not to respond to thoughts as they influence you, whether they're in close proximity to your aspects or thoughts that humans are constantly depositing that fly through the air like mosquitoes. And one reason you fly up here in Amarillo is because it's such a nice strong wind blow.
Back in the days when Jesus was here, they believed that people were possessed with demons, so to speak. And they even talked about how a demon of an animal or a dog or something like that left somebody. And after Jesus healed them. And we don't want to talk into it. You see what I'm saying? All they can do is relate. If they read your book, then all they can do, and you talk about influence, all they can do would be to relate back to the name of Jesus. And when all those demons would do something, in a sense, we feel like what happens to somebody is there's something wrong with the mechanism in their head. Remember I talked about that, where they revert back to previous incarnations.
Even into animal incarnations.
And
something's wrong with it, and shut it off.
That kind of characteristic.
You remember I talked about this? When we first started updating influences, which was a long time ago, when you first went to San Antonio, we started updating influences and saying that a lot of what people tune into, like even in the hypnosis, when they say that other spirits are coming in and things of that sort, that what they were tuning into was reverting back to previous incarnations that mind had gone through. And that it's very dangerous to do such a thing because they can tune back into the difficulties that they had. Like we said, an alcoholic who is not an alcoholic in this incarnation, if he tunes back to any degree into previous incarnation when he had that difficulty, he brings it back and has it all over again. So it is not a healthy practice, and it wouldn't hurt for that kind of thing to be mentioned, because we feel that all these metaphysical centers and things that think they're so special by tuning people back into previous lives, all they do is cause them trouble. And what's ahead is the only thing that is important to you. What has passed, if you tune back into it, you can bring back the nature of that past, even into your animal existence.
Since the force is always moving.
Not that you would ever return to that. We have clarified that.
No, we wouldn't, but you can play that tape. The force of this planet is always moving forward. So the person that you would tune into in a past life would never be any more highly evolved than you are right in this lifetime, if you can understand. Even though they may think they're pretty wise. And they may know a little bit about something that you may not know in this lifetime. You see what I'm saying? Like, they may know about astrology.
Wait a minute, I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, like for instance, I said they're not wise.
But you're not talking about that as another individual. You're talking
No,
about
we're
previous
talking about the
information.
life that you live.
Right.
So
Right. Those
I think that's been clear that we're not
not
talking about
other individuals.
It's another lifetime. Like for instance, you might have been an astrologer in another lifetime.
You might have thought you were a very, very wise man, and therefore, if you tuned and that came in, that it would present itself as being extremely wise, and even make your present incarnation feel inferior, which would be absolutely
And you begin to
inaccurate.
look to that individual.
Past
And
state.
before you know it, that characteristic could become the strongest one in you, which makes it seem like I have a guide or I'm being possessed, either
Right.
one of you. And they might, that lifetime may have, or they, let's say they did know more about astrology than you. And therefore he would have, that lifetime would have more of the answers. You can call it. But it doesn't mean that he's wiser. You might be a doctor in this lifetime.
To be sure that you understand when T's saying he, she's not
I'm
talking
talking
about
about
another
the lifetime that you live, not a individual. And so if you were a doctor in this lifetime, and you asked this wise old man who was an astrologer, this that you tune into in your mind, something about a doctor, he wouldn't know anything about it. So who's the wisest? You see what I'm saying? What you could do as an individual, probably learn astrology very easily.
Yeah, it would be
Because
better.
you have it in your mind.
It would
but
be
you
better
wouldn't
for
resort
you
to
to
it.
learn it, even if you had previously had experience in it. It would be better for you to learn it, which, like T said, you'd learn very quickly and very easily, than to learn it by tuning
I
backwards.
feel it's a little backward because it's been updated. Everything's been updated. Can you understand?
I was wondering if you could share the updates on the whole concept of mind of the planet,
That's all. Yes, that's
It's all,
yes.
no, we wouldn't.
Well,
See, that's a spiritual trip.
And I'll
That's
tell
what
you,
theosophers
yes,
and these spiritual things talk about. Spiritual groups talk about.
I don't know that we've ever taught you root systems.
Ever?
just
Just pulling
Like
out,
our
breaking
Oh,
through.
severing roots.
severing our roots.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you, well, you know, the way you said that,
Sounded like Theosophical.
they have a root race.
They have a root race, which is
Fifth
very
roots race.
complicated.
They're all going to be.
Bunch of fun.
Well, I was talking about like the chain of mind, moving our immediate things and chain. Like what I was trying to do in my mind is use the four statements you originally told me. Because that was the message that you gave to me. But chronologically, I was trying to say, well, what part of those four statements, what part of that message is still valid? What is still usable has been totally updated. And I realized I had no idea. I wasn't sure.
I don't even know what the statement
I
is.
know.
Right.
So let's not go back that far.
Yeah.
In other words, that won't help people
Yeah.
in using those four statements.
I'd skip those statements and just tell, if you briefly are telling about the held meeting, offered information that certain people just knew that it spoke to them. I would speak in general terms like that, but if you get into the particular statements, the awakening process is kind of designed that it has to be a slow awakening, and a lot of the early stages of awakening, the earlier they are, the more inaccurate they are, even though in a sense they're accurate for the time because they did what they were intended to do. But later on, if you reflect back on them, you certainly can't justify them in fact, other than the fact that you realize that they did accomplish what needed to be accomplished.
The most important thing, like for you, for instance, while you were separated from it, what did you experience while you were separated? How did you keep your, we don't need to know, or you don't need to put it into your book, what kind of jobs or anything like that. But most of it, surely there was something significant that happened to you. Otherwise, that you would have left it.
That's right. The
See
things
what I'm
that you had to deal with, and something still stuck in your craw that said, I've got to try to do this to the best of my ability, and hope that one day it will pay off. And by sticking to it, even though there might have been only a thread that held you many times, it did pay off in getting you where you sit at this moment. And what you experienced might have had a type of accelerated growth that you could not have received in the classroom during that period. It's like a real honing that was necessary. Or otherwise, because we believe that what you were sent to do was right for you to do that, and it has not changed. And we hope that you realize that.
Not only do we have
In other words, the statement was really like a trumpet blow. If you can relate to it in that way, we could have written A, B, C, D, E, F, G on all those pages. And what was with those papers is what brought you to it. You understand what I'm saying? Do you all remember our saying that? We could have stood up there and quoted, just said A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then said it backwards and forwards. And it was, the thing of it was the trumpet. It's the trumpet that awakens you enough to know that now it's time for me to do my work.
Now,
You see what I'm saying? Even though it was deep inside of me. So in a sense, it isn't important what the statement is.
The basics of that statement are still true, that members of the real kingdom of heaven circulate in the real heaven, and they even have automobiles. I mean, they have spacecraft. And the fact that the metamorphosis idea, even though we translated it more at the physical level, is really more of a conversion of your ways, is a changing, doing your total overcoming is the necessary metamorphosis. You all, in getting control of your vehicles and getting control of your booker, and that's the change that you have to take place, which is no different than any individual out there who might read these records at some later time, if he ever hopes to please the real kingdom of heaven and have it visit him or to have him enter it. He has to go through the same total overcoming, in that sense, metamorphosis as you had to experience. And so that's just as pure as
Still apply if you can get them in the right
get it
place.
right.
In other words, the humans, the ones who are not members of the next level, who come here to do a task like we're doing, would still experience the box of
Run that by again.
the ones who, the humans, in other words,
Let me, is it not so that these humans who, once they have learned all of their lessons that could be learned at this planet, would enter a box under the direction of the kingdom of heaven, and that would eventually lead them to a more secure position in the kingdom of heaven if they continue to go forward and learn their lessons. That's about all you can say. And when you mention box, you of course got to get the hothouse or gardener type analogy, or the box isn't going to mean anything to you. You mean they take you off in a box to some place?
In other words, it's a different grades of school. If you want to leave off the box, and they take you to different places off of this garden, and you may or may not ever come back here.
In other words, we're saying that offsprings of this garden are taken by the kingdom of heaven when they have adequately learned all they could learn from this garden. And in some cases, even at other times, it's not only things that have learned everything they could learn in this garden would they take elsewhere. They could take primitive elements, primitive samples of human beings from this garden and transplant them elsewhere in the heavens. But that doesn't mean they're ahead of the game any. It means they would still start at the same level that they were in a transplanted condition. So there are many reasons for individuals leaving the garden. One is having gone through all of its lessons in an upward motion and outgrown it sufficiently in the right direction to deserve to go to a next step which would lead them into the kingdom of heaven. And other things are more like serving and planting of other gardens. Other extractions of human individuals would be more like the gardener would take certain vehicles or certain plants that had developed pretty well and put them over here and see how they did in that soil. Maybe because he wanted to start a new garden over here. And in the same way, they might bring in primitive elements of vehicles and minds from other places here in order to do a little mixing and a little adjustment or genetic breeding or whatever they might do. But this is all just general understanding that you cannot quote with any authority, any accuracy. It's just trying to help you understand that the kingdom of real heavens treats this planet as a garden, and he would treat his activity pretty much as a garden on earth.
Well, it's almost Thanksgiving. I'd like to say something before we have to break up. In the meditation, we don't want you all to become weak-minded. In other words, you don't sit there in a relaxed state and then carry that relaxed mind with you throughout the day. We're not developing a bunch of weak minds. In other words, after you relax your body, then you begin to strengthen your mind with the little things we have given to you.
You're not relaxing your mind.
No.
You're relaxing the vehicle so the mind can be stronger.
Like one individual was up here just recently, and he was so weak, it was almost, I had an awful time trying to communicate because there was no pull for any knowledge, because it was just like a weak state. You see what I'm saying? And it wasn't just one individual. It happened quite a few times. And we're not trying to make a bunch of zombies out of it. You've got to develop a strong mind force. And this paper that the one here wrote up just recently may be helpful in that kind of notion. But you, let's say, how do you strengthen your mind? Through concentrating on what is going through your mind and your tongue. Like if you're doing mantras, we use that if you're in the lab and you're saying power of life is flowing through me, the body is feeling comfortable. Let's say you're doing tools, and you say power of life. Somebody comes along and throws up in dishwater and you stop it. You're not supposed to do that. You think that you know that, and then you start the power of life, and somebody else comes along and does it. And what you ought to be able to do is do the tools. People can come in and do whatever they want to and say, or whatever they're supposed to, and say the power of life is flowing through me, my body is healed and perfect. In other other words, you don't let anybody interrupt you.
It has to be with strength. It's like a relaxed vehicle and brain should make room for or be the house of a vital and strong mind. And vital and strong is not to be confused with stress.
Right.
And in other words, you can't think, well, I can't get vital and strong or I'll bring stress in, and so you end up lethargic. Or you let your mind be as relaxed as your vehicle is, as you're trying to get your vehicle running.
Let's use another example. Let's say you're in the lab. Let's say every time you get into the lab, you get a headache. And so you go get a cup of ice and you come back. And that happens all the time. Just about every time you go into the lab. And in my mind, that's an indication that something's wrong. Either somebody's making you nervous, or the procedures goes against your brain, or something. But it calls for reprogramming of the vehicle, right? So what you need to do, you've got to prepare yourself for going into the lab. And how do you prepare yourself? By saying, whenever I go into the lab, whatever it is that's disturbing me, I'm not going to let it disturb me. I'm going to accept whatever happens as though it is something good that is coming my way. And I'm going to grow from that success. Now, you do that over and over and over. And then when you go into the lab, you're saying to yourself over and over again, whatever happens, I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm going to be cool and relaxed and happy for whatever comes my way. In other words, this is developing strength of mind. Let's say you're at an out-of-class test, and somebody invariably, let's take my mother. She has a job where I'm sure it requires a lot of mind concentration. And she probably has to start at the beginning and work her way up. And let's say invariably, she'll get 4 or 5 steps into her work, and somebody comes in and tells her. Now she could get mad and pick up the computer and hit her in the head. Or she could say, not say anything, but relax her brain and look at it as though it's a good exercise for her brain to start over.
Or to see if she can pick up where she left off without
Either that or say,
excitement.
just one moment, and write down something that would cause her to be able to recall where she had left off. See what I mean? Use everything. Don't let a single thing pass you by. And because if you do, you're wasting time. And time we don't want any more than we have to commit to. You know what I mean? You cannot sit through meditation and fall asleep. If you do, you're just fooling yourself. You're not fooling meditating, but you are developing a habit, 2 habits, of letting your mind waste time and becoming weak, and second, allowing the vehicle to get away with it. You're developing a pattern and falling asleep when you meditate. Actually, you're not meditating, you're just
And you're turning a really good exercise, a very worthwhile exercise, into a worthless period, which is really bad, because once you have it set in your mind that the period is worthless, it's awfully hard to turn around and make it a significantly good exercise again. So we hope that you understand in the papers that we've just recently done that it's better to take just the elements of meditation that you can do and do them well, and then increase them as you can increase them significantly. It doesn't do any good to just go through the paces and not have any of them develop to where you really feel what you're after. It's better to stop at one aspect of it. Maybe the one aspect of the exercises we've given you, the aspect you need the most. Zero in on it and really develop it. And then start developing the others. If you can maintain the significant potency in doing it. And potency does not mean to be a company best guest.
Let me say, back in the days of Moses, when the Lord was with the children of Israel most of the time, there were things that he was not allowed in his temple. And in a sense, we tried to set up this retreat here as a place that you all can come to free of these admonitions. And if you all come into this retreat and practice some of the things that you practiced back in your craft, it's very comfortable. In other words, if you go and sleep on the couch in the main craft, and you come up here and you sleep on the couch, it is twice, well, I would say it's 10 times worse to do it here than it is back there. You see what I'm saying? Simply because this has been set up for you as a place, a temple, so to speak, even though you call it a retreat.
Like
if you practice any sensuality up here, then you are also doing it.
Or lethargy or anything.
Right. In other words, you you might as well slap us in the face if you want to. And we would rather you do it, at least in honesty. And honesty is what we want you to be totally, if you can understand it. It's really sad what some of you all got lose as far as vehicles are concerned. But you can come from where you want it. Be it. It's just how weak you have allowed yourself to become, but it isn't too late. You can become stronger. And we hope that you will develop.
All right? Okay. We said something earlier that we ought to retract, and that is, as far as you're concerned, let's just say that the next level is going to vacuum up any of your negative thoughts. In other words, you're responsible for any lower thoughts that you deposit in the air. Now, let's go back and realize what we're talking about. We're talking about as you give in to the vehicular habits or the motor, and those the thoughts at that time that you're giving in, the thoughts at the moment you're giving in that are deposited are certainly not helpful thoughts left for people to draw on, because they're like thoughts of failure or thoughts of defeat and thoughts of I can't conquer, which brings us to the reason we called you back. The reason we called you back is not to retract that, but to give you a little better update on some of the side issues of realizing that you are from the next level. We've got to accept certain, or we must accept some of the things that go with the fact that you are from the next level and have come to do this task. One of the things that implies that we realize causes our seeming impatience with you at times, or our desire for you to be impatient with your own overcoming, is because we know that you have overcome all those habits
of those vehicles, of vehicles before. And since you have, then you, in other words, when you left a garden to enter the, or to go to a box and to enter the early stages of the kingdom of heaven, you, in order to deserve that, though you didn't do it as a unit, you did it as individuals, and maybe from several different places. We don't know those facts. But the important thing is, in order for you to have grown to the part, grown to the position of leaving the garden, to enter a box and to enter the early stages of the next level, you had to have overcome the vehicular habits and giving into them. Now, however, this time differs considerably, because at those times you had no adversary to deal with. You had a vehicle to deal with. And in other words, your mind was not nearly so strong. Your mind was young. And it took a lot to you it seemed like a lot at that time to overcome the habits of the vehicle and to not do the lower nature of what you had inherited and that you grew up with, thinking were normal habits of the world, from whatever world you graduated from. But now don't forget, as far as you're concerned, you're here from a selfish standpoint, you're here to gain strength of mind, because that's the only way you can serve the next one better, is to gain strength of mind. So if you're repeating the process of overcoming habits in a vehicle, plus what makes it 10 times worse is an adversary and a booger. And to do it under those circumstances. Now, this is why you should now look at yourself. I have no excuse, just like we said to you when you realized that you had come from the kingdom of heaven, that you didn't have an excuse, but you still haven't applied it all right. You still have applied it only in certain ways. And when you do give in to such things as lethargy or not exerting enough effort to overcome whatever your individual weakness of the vehicle was that your booger's taking advantage of, whatever that weakness is. And we don't want to single out sensuality, because it's not, in a true sense, it's not that much different from other major characteristics of the human vibration that have to be overcome. It is a major one. There are also other major ones that are just as important. Anger and hostility and cruelty to each other are just as major. Things of that nature are just as major. You've got to now see yourself as, I have got to get more money. I can't look at myself any longer as, since I know it from the next level, I can't look at myself any longer as I'm just learning to get this vehicle under control. Because you've done it before. You know how to get a vehicle under control. What you haven't had to deal with is the mental battles of trying to not let you accomplish your task. It's almost as if Lucifer and his helpers it's like when someone flunks an advanced course, and they resent it, so they don't want anybody else to pass it. And it's almost, they attack you in almost the same way, because in comparison, yours is an advanced course, what you're doing now. And irony of it is the advanced course is advanced because of the adversary who doesn't want you to accomplish passing the advanced course. Can you see that? It's almost out of resentment. He is determined to not let you pass it. Would you like me to shut this off? What? Okay. Do you want to add to that? Do you want to ask any questions about this?
There on why you said if others were writing books that you do this, they would be given that.
What is that? Wait, run that back again.
Like others chose to do what we're telling them to do.
Others who?
On this planet, they would then be the last book.
No. Down the line, they would. No, not right away. It's, now I've got to catch you on that, even though I'm going to have to shut this off. Well, then I'll say it. We've said to you many times that we give you only a small portion of the truth. But we know that what we are instructed to give you is more than adequate for what is required of you in your task. And so don't try to feel obligated as the critic to fill in all the blanks. That is in opposition to what we're trying to give to you. It will cause us to stammer and stutter and not even be able to get our information out if those thoughts are even occurring in your head of contradictions or comparisons. Now, before we leave that thought, what we intended, or what we meant by what we said, was that in motion into the kingdom of heaven, that if you're going, it's just like when Jesus said, everything that I experience, you will experience also. And the same thing was happening. We were saying they will get their turn. If they continue to go in forward motion, they will get their turn of having to deal with an adversary. But they may not get it until they're on such a task as what you have now. So there was another point that we just barely touched on just a moment ago that I felt like we ought to say something about. And I lost it. Did you ever catch it? From any garden.
Wait a minute. Don't you know that you're considered graduated when you go to a law school?
You're outgrowing. It's true that you have finished the lessons that garden has to offer. You have to go to a box.
Well, there's certain. It's a lower standard.
Yeah, because it's not even that. That's right.
Ready
It's not
to go
even all
into
the lessons that it has to offer, because you're learning lessons that this garden has to offer right now, even though you quote graduate, which is just a term, because it's all upward motion, like P was saying. It's just it's stepwise. Who is to say graduation? You know, you graduated, or at what point graduation is actually graduation. But I think if our understanding of what we were saying earlier is that you have all had the experience of overcoming the habits of fear. And you had it back when you headed for a box, and you left the lessons of that level that a garden had to offer you, and you went on to other lessons. And when you actually enter the kingdom of heaven, to a degree that you can't return, it's like when you enter the human kingdom from an animal kingdom, to the degree that you can't return would be when you have taken a next level vehicle. And just like when a dog has taken when the mind that was in the dog has taken a human vehicle, then he can't return. But he was in the human world, and even learned a lot of human ways, and learned how to get along pretty well, and even take advantage to a sense. Now, where you actually earned a next level vehicle, or how that is attained, is not part of what we're teaching, certainly at this point. And it's not even clear in the understanding of our minds. What is clear to us is what you have, what the task is before you, that you have got to wake up more so that to continue to give into habits and vehicle have to be seen as something that you have learned so well in the past that you certainly have no excuse for continuing to do now. So, and you've got to see that the major thing you have to do is not see it in that light any longer, but see it in the light of how can I stoop down to such immaturity as to give in to those habits and those ways, since I recognize the fact that I have left them previously and I have come here to do it in the past. And in the process, I've got to strengthen my mind, and I can't pollute when I'm supposed to be depositing positive, constructive thoughts. How can I pollute that with the thoughts of failure or retrograde when I give into habits of the vehicle, or when I give into my movement? I'm still depositing thoughts of failure for the period, which brings up another thing that some of your classmates might apply, some that are here, might apply some that aren't here, that would be listening to this tape. When you are trying your best to overcome something, and let's say your booger does come in, and for a momentary period you're trapped, and you a few minutes later awaken to the fact that you, during that trapped period, performed improperly. In other words, you had a poor response, or you got angry, or you gave in to hurt, or you were ugly to a classmate, and you really felt that booger came in because you felt that hostility. I'm just using that as an example of one thing. Then it would be the way of a member of the next level to go right back to that individual where that occurred and say, goodness, I can't believe that I lost control so much as to let myself get away with that, to let my books use me that way, and be responsible for it. That doesn't mean that it would excuse it, like a human goes and says, I'm sorry, and therefore it's carte blanche, everything's okay because I'm sorry. To you it would be 1,000 times worse than that. But it's a very, very healthy thing once you have slipped for a moment and the vehicle has done a poor response and you felt the presence of that booger, to recognize, goodness, I see what happened there. And then go right back to the individual or to your lab crew or wherever it was that happened, and get that slate exposed, get that booger exposed, and say, I can't believe that I permitted myself to be caught in that trap, and that I performed like I did, and let my booger come and disturb me as he did during that experience. And I'm going to try my very best not to let that happen. And that's a very, very healthy thing for you to do. Not to take lightly, not to do easily, but for it to be so rare that, because it should mean so much to you, that it would be very rare. And you see what we're saying? Therefore, the apology has to mean so much to you that it would give you more ammunition not to repeat. If the apology is something that you think God will accept, and it doesn't really matter that much because after all I'm apologizing, then the whole thing is wasted. That's just a cop-out. Are we getting through to you?
Let me give them a response that somebody should come up and say, let's say an individual did have a bad response to you, and then they later came back to you and asked what don't you come to say. Your response would be, that's okay. Okay, you don't say, well, I'm sure glad you came back and told me about that, because that sure was bad.
Yeah, that would still be letting your book
Right.
do.
So what you want to do is just say, thank you, I really appreciate your coming back and saying that to me. And then, there are very few ways at the next level that we have. There are very few ways at the next level that you are already you are awakened to a lot of the ways at the next level if you would only practice. When you don't practice, it's because of the probably either the habit of these or the belief. In other words, the ways at the next level are to be kind to each other, which we feel like we're striving very hard to be kind to each other. A gentleness. I feel like you are developing a gentleness, some more so than others, but you are much more gentle than you were when we first started this thing.
Self-control.
Self-control. Some have it more than others. But we feel like everybody's striving.
And you all know it. You all know that self-control in all of its aspects, or self-control is a way of the next level.
The good attitude, we feel like the majority of you have a good attitude. Once in a while, maybe one or two of you might let something come out your mouth that you wish you had. But in an overall picture, you were working toward that. In fact, I feel like you have good headway.
Honesty.
Honesty. Some are more honest than others. Honesty means only one thing, Sean. To speak to things and be the perfect little student, and then to go back to the craft and show another face to the craft. That's what we call doing.
Yes, or to give links the impression that you're really doing your best to overcome certain things, and then to exert very little effort in those particular areas amidst your classmates shows that you're not really honest. You may think that you're honest because you can say, well, my best is showing because I really do want to come to this. But you've got to be what you are with links all the time. And if you aren't, then there's deceit. And deceit is dishonesty.
Even when you're by yourself, if you're thinking thoughts that are not to be suitable for the presence of an older member, then you are deceitful and you are
dishonest. That's true.
And so therefore you should strive to not have any thoughts that are not to be worthy of whatever. Another characteristic, consideration. We feel like in general you are considerate. Now, I don't feel like we're being naive in saying that you all are this way. We feel it if you're not. If you can understand. In other words, we can feel a coarseness. We can feel the vibrations of these different characteristics very strongly. Like the incident just a little while ago, it couldn't have been stronger. I know my vibrations just start going to set, and I can feel those.
I couldn't get my thoughts out, and I didn't know why until it was exposed.
However, you may not have felt it. You felt it? Okay, now, the thing of it is, this is how sensitive you all want to become, and in your meditation, you will become as you get more lined in. Now, said consideration, didn't it? The most important thing is to be one person. I know I said this, but I'm stressing it because you want to be one person only. And
You know what she's talking about?
it's what I mentioned a moment ago. And if you want to put 4 stars on that, or maybe 10 stars, because it's what all of you had trouble with to a certain degree. Like you may get up from this meeting and be entirely different compared to what you are right here. You know what I mean?
Or when you get back to the craft, or a week from now.
You will slip into, let's say you go back to the craft, you will slip into the routine of the craft back there, just exactly where you were prior to coming in here. It's like people who go to church, they listen to the preacher, they shed a few tears, they pray, and then they get up and walk out, and they probably no sooner get home or maybe in the car when they're breaking all the vows that they promised that they wouldn't break. You know what I'm talking about? In other words, they turn out to be two-faced. And what you want to do, we get reports where people say, we want the craft to feel like what it feels like to the retreat. What's happening back there that makes it not feel like the retreat? It has to be the responses that you all are slipping into, or the
activity that goes on keeps the chains of vibration.
or what? I don't know. Only you all know. In other words, it's routine. I never think of my life in this craft here as being routine. I never do something out of habit. If I do, I will break it. But the only thing I do by habit is consume, because of the fact that it will mess up their schedule, and then they will be busy all the time today if we didn't do that. But it's very difficult for me to do it, because like tonight, when it was time to consume, I felt like I hadn't even finished digesting what I had earned. But I ate it. Meaning, didn't eat all of it, but I ate part of it. Now, I know you have to have routines. You have to have fiber labs, and you have to have your consuming, and you have to go to your autocrat task, and you have to come back, all that. But don't do it, and don't take on the vibration like a human would do. This will spoil your craft. If these worked in the lab like humans, we would have to spray them with insecticide every hour to get rid of it. But they try not to perform. At least they don't while we see it. And they have worked very hard to get their routine down packed where they can work together as a team. And all they have done a very good job. But they still don't treat it as a routine task. They have their routine set up or set down, whatever it is. But they still don't bring in a human with them in order to get it. You all can understand. Do you all know what I mean? Some say people are shutting doors to craft, and that spoils that because you don't have it. Well, I've accidentally shut a door too loud. Going out this door here, it's hard to shut it quietly. So it is some things. That's the only thing they can put to what is happening. I know what it is, and I've just said it to you. It's slipping into a human. The only time you play like a human is when you're out.
And you have to be sure to play like it. Because if it has any genuineness to it, you're going to, it'll be a terrible ladder to climb when you get back to the craft to try to get back where you were. It has to be strategically on stage when you're
doing human tasks. It's got to be completely play-like. Back to what T was saying about this singleness of being one individual, being the same individual all the time. If you think your best is when you are in the presence of an older member, then use that as a guide all the time, whether you're by yourself or with someone else. And remind yourself when you're out of craft task or you're doing other things, am I of the same frame of mind? Am I having the same kind of thoughts and so forth right on down the line as I would have in the presence of an older member? We have the same temptation that you do. We have the same habits of vehicles to deal with. We have the same boogers to deal with, except worse. But we have to maintain the same